Will be focused on the recuperation. It's not a piece of cake, and Benoit will be. Yeah. So I give the floor to Benoit to introduce the meeting, if everybody agrees. We have to start again in order to close. I just want to say that at the end of this session, we will have a restaurant reservation for us. It's not so far away, so we can go. So we can go together marching on to the restaurant, and then as we did in the previous one, we will have some introductory, and then we have space for the free discussion.
Well, okay. At the moment, I would say that the transformation of a capitalist company into a cooperative is only made when the company is in bankrupt or when the group wants to close down a production unit. In this sense, I think we are in a very different situation than in the 70s, where the wage was at a high level and where I think we had a huge possibility of changing our society at this time. The capitalism was in crisis, and we have not made this in the 70s. Now it's a different situation in which wages are very low compared to what it was in relative terms, obviously. And the capital is at the offensive to close down companies sometimes, and in which we see some companies which are in bankrupt. And this is why the situation, the material situation in which a company is recuperated is now particularly harsh. I think it only happens at a micro level, and the company is therefore always isolated. And these two combined factors mean that recuperation is not, as the title of this roundtable is, a piece of cake for employees wishing to take over their company. As somebody said before, we are in a defensive mode and we are not in an offensive mode, and I think this is a key question. So this roundtable is made to talk about the different challenges which are posed to this recuperation. I would like to mention just 3 of them, and there are probably many others. The first one is first challenge that workers' company has to face is to find a market. If a company went bankrupt, obviously this means a drop in customers or a competitive situation in which the prices are not the same as it was before and therefore are unable to cover wages. If the production unit has been closed down by a group, very often the only output of this production unit was the group itself, which bought the production, so therefore the workers' collective has no longer customers to insure wages. This was typically the case, for example, between the Fralib and the Unilever. The Unilever bought all the tea bags, herbal tea bags, and they have absolutely no market. So the question is, how can the worker face such a situation? If a production is made towards customers, well, we can ask some solidarity groups to act around them, and this is something that in many cases we see. I can mention obviously in France the situation, the association of Les Amis de la Fabrique du Sud, which has really helped La Fabrique du Sud to start their business some 2 years ago, and they were very successful, by the way, at the beginning. But how can it be done when the company sells products which are inputs for other companies? I think this is a key question which is absolutely not easy to answer. I think the second challenge such a company has to face is the financing of business. As employees, we usually do not have the amount of money to start a business, otherwise we would not be employees. That's a per se situation. So in some countries, and at a certain level, this is the case fortunately in France, we have some financing tools which are already set up in the cooperative movement. The problem we face, therefore, is that when we talk about investment, financing, we talk about a future which is uncertain by definition, and it means that we need to have several opinions. If I take the example of La Fabrique du Sud, workers' cooperative movement was absolutely reluctant to finance La Fabrique du Sud at the beginning. And the problem is that this La Fabrique du Sud had no other choice but running with them, because all the banks, ordinary banks, turned down any possibility to work together. So even when you have financing tools, this is very, very hard, and it doesn't work in all the cases. And I would say that in both recuperation, there is a third factor which should be taken in consideration, is the question of job losses. Very often it means when a company, we are far away from the situation of the 70s, you remember, when the workers of LIP in Besançon, in France, said, okay, we want no job losses. All employees should be re-employed. And they were successful at it in 1974. We are no longer in this time frame now. We are in a situation in which at any recuperation we see there is a loss in jobs. This is something that we have to take in consideration, and how can we face it, how can we handle this? I think this is another part. Just take some example. If I take Sea France in France, you know, the ship company on the Detroit between England and France, they were 1,600, and when recuperation happened, some 2 years down the road, they only were 500. If we take La Fabrique du Sud, they were 100, they started again at 20. Even the Fralib, when they were 160, and now they have some 60 employees, 70 employees starting Skopje at the moment. I don't know in other countries, but I think this is a real situation that we have to face. So the question is at the moment, how, and this is the title of this round table, recuperation, to be very sure, is not a piece of cake. We are in defensive mode. How can we improve these processes?